a platform sermon on directly comprehending the Buddha nature according to the Chan doctrine of sudden teaching and emancipation by Shenhui, the Reverend of Nan-yang. The unsurpassable Dharma of enlightenment the Buddhas have profoundly lamented is inconceivable. Friends, you have all been able to come here so that you can all generate the unsurpassable bodhicitta. It is extremely difficult to encounter the Buddhas, bodhisattvas, and true spiritual compatriots. Today you are going to hear something you've never heard before. In the past you never encountered it, but today you have. Friends, in the mouths of ordinary persons there are immeasurable bad words, and in their minds there are immeasurable bad thoughts, so that they are forever lost in samsara and do not achieve emancipation. You must each and every one of you generate bodhicitta. Let us all reverence the Buddhas so as to repent your past transgressions. We reverence all the Buddhas of the entire past. We reverence all the Buddhas of the entire future. We reverence all the Buddhas of the entire present. We reverence the treasury of sutras, of the honored Dharma, of the perfection of wisdom. We reverence the great bodhisattvas and all the sagely monks. You should each repent in full sincerity so as to purify your three types of action. In complete sincerity, we now repent any of the four major transgressions committed with body, speech, or mind during past, present, or future, and wish that such transgressions be eliminated, never to arise again. In complete sincerity, we now repent any of the 5 contrary transgressions. In complete sincerity, we now repent any of the 7 contrary transgressions. In complete sincerity, we now repent any of the 10 wrong transgressions. In complete sincerity, we now repent any of the serious transgressions. In complete sincerity, we now repent any of all transgressions. Now, friends, now that you have been able to come to this place of enlightenment, you can each and every one generate the unsurpassable bodhicitta and seek the unsurpassable Dharma of Bodhi. If you are going to seek the unsurpassable Bodhi, you must have faith in the words of the Buddha and depend upon the Buddha's teachings. All the Buddhas of the past have preached as follows. To not perform wrong actions is morality. To undertake good actions is wisdom. And to purify one's intentions is concentration. Friends, only when the equivalents of the 3 learnings are included can it be said to be the teachings of the Buddhas. What is the equivalence of the 3 learnings? These are morality, concentration, and wisdom. The non-activation of the false mind is morality. The absence of the false mind is concentration, and the knowledge of the mind's absence of falsity is wisdom. This is called the equivalence of the 3 learnings. You must each maintain mental and physical abstinence. If you do not maintain this abstinence, you will ultimately never be able to generate all the good dharmas. If you are going to seek the unsurpassable Bodhi, you must first maintain this abstinence. Only after doing which will you gain entry into Bodhi. If you do not maintain this abstinence, you won't even be able to get the body of a mangy fox in your next life. So how could you possibly acquire the meritorious Dharmakaya of a Tathagata? Friends, the Dharma that you should become inspired to study today corresponds to the perfection of wisdom. It goes beyond that of the Shravakas and Pratyeka Buddhas, and is identical to the prediction conferred by Shakyamuni on Maitreya, without any difference. Since you have already come to this ordination platform to study the perfection of wisdom, I want each and every one of you to generate the unsurpassable bodhicitta, both mentally and orally, and become enlightened to the cardinal meaning of the middle way in this very place. If you seek emancipation, you should transcend body, mind, and consciousness, the 5 dharmas, the 3 self-natures, the 8 consciousnesses, and the 2 selflessnesses, and you should transcend the views of interior and exterior. The 6 generations of patriarchs have transmitted the mind with the mind because of the transcendence of words. The transmission from before has been like this. Friends, you should all take care to listen carefully as I explain the pure inherent mind. When you hear an explanation of Bodhi, don't create the intention to grasp Bodhi. When you hear an explanation of Nirvana, don't create the intention to grasp Nirvana. When you hear an explanation of purity, don't create the intention to grasp purity. When you hear an explanation of emptiness, don't create the intention to grasp emptiness. When you hear an explanation of concentration, don't create the intention to grasp concentration. To have your mind function like this is quietistic nirvana. You should not freeze your mind and make the mind abide. You should also not use the mind to directly observe the mind. You will fall into an abiding of direct observation, which is useless. You should not lower the eyes in front. You will fall into a visual abiding, which is useless. You should not create the intention to concentrate the mind, and you should not look afar and look near. These are all useless. The sutra says, non-contemplation is bodhi, since it is without remembering. This is the mind that is empty and serene in its self-nature. Question: are there affirmative and negative in the mind? Answer: no. Question: is there abiding in the mind, or coming and going in the mind? Answer: no. Question: are there blue, yellow, red, and white in the mind? Answer: no. Question: does the mind have a place of abiding? Answer: the mind is without any place of abiding. His Reverend said, the mind is non-abiding. Do you understand the mind's non-abiding? Answer: we understand. Question: do you understand it or not? Answer: we understand. I have now inferred from non-abiding to posit knowing. How is this? Non-abiding is quiescence, and the essence of quiescence is called concentration. The natural wisdom that occurs on the basis of this essence, whereby one can know the inherently quiescent essence, is called sagacity. This is the equivalence of concentration and wisdom. The sutra says, activate illumination on the basis of serenity, and the meaning here is the same. The non-abiding mind does not transcend knowing, and knowing does not transcend non-abiding. If one knows the mind's non-abiding, there is nothing else to be known. The Lotus Sutra says, identical to the knowing of the Tathagata, great and profound. The mind is without limit and is identical to the Buddha in its greatness. The Diamond Sutra says, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva should thus generate a pure mind. Not abiding in forms does he generate the mind. Not abiding in sounds, fragrances, tastes, tangibles, or dharmas does he generate the mind. Without any abiding does he generate that mind. I now infer that without any abiding is your non-abiding minds. Does he generate the mind is to know the mind's non-abiding. The original essence is empty and serene. To activate knowing on the basis of this empty and serene essence, and to well discriminate The blue, yellow, red, and white of this world is wisdom. To not activate the mind in consequence of this discrimination is concentration. Thus, if one freezes the mind to enter concentration, one will fall into a blank emptiness. To activate the mind to discriminate all the conditioned realities of this world after arising from concentration, and to call this wisdom. In the sutras, this is called the false mind. This is to be without concentration during wisdom, and to be without wisdom during concentration. If one's understanding is like this, one will never transcend the afflictions. To freeze the mind to enter concentration, to fix the mind to view purity, to activate the mind to illuminate the external, and to concentrate the mind to realize the internal. This is not an emancipated mind, but rather a mind that is bound to the Dharma. Don't do this. The Nirvana Sutra says, "The Buddha told the Bodhisattva brilliance of lazuli, 'Good youth, you should not enter the concentration of profound emptiness.' Why? Because it renders the great congregation of ordinary followers dull. This is because if you enter concentration, you will not know all the perfections of wisdom. Just know yourself that the inherent essence is quiescent, empty, and without attributes. It is without abiding or attachment and equivalent to space. With nowhere it does not pervade. This is the body of suchness of the Buddhas. Suchness is the essence of non-thought. Because of this idea, I posit non-thought as my doctrine. If you see non-thought, you will be permanently empty and serene even though you are possessed of perceptive functions. This is for the three learnings of morality, concentration, and wisdom to be simultaneously equivalent and to be possessed of all the 10,000 practices. This is to be equivalent to the knowing and seeing of a Tathagata, great and profound. You should all apply yourselves totally to bring yourselves to attain the emancipation of sudden enlightenment. This is the combined cultivation of concentration and wisdom, the two of which cannot be separated. Concentration does not differ from wisdom, and wisdom does not differ from concentration, just as a lamp and its light cannot be separated. When we consider the lamp, it is seen to be the essence of the light. When we consider the light, it is seen to be the function of the lamp. Thus, when we consider the light, it does not differ from the lamp. When we consider the lamp, it does not differ from the light. Concentration and wisdom are the same. This constitutes the combined cultivation of concentration and wisdom, the two of which cannot be separated. Friends, there is a Buddha nature within your body, which you have not been able to see completely. Just to not intentionalize, for the mind to be without activation. This is true non-thought. Ultimately, seeing is not separate from knowing, and knowing is not separate from seeing. Ashvaghosha says, in The Awakening of Faith, for a sentient being to contemplate non-thought is the wisdom of a Buddha. Just point at the Buddha mind. The mind is Buddha. Although bodhicitta and the ultimate realization are no different, of these two states of mind it is difficult to say which is more important. With oneself still unsaved, to first save others. Thus do we reverence the initial achievement of bodhicitta. By this initial bodhicitta, one becomes a teacher of humans and gods, superior to the Shravakas and Pratyeka Buddhas. With such a bodhicitta, one transcends the triple realm. Hence, this is called the most unsurpassable. When other masters are asked about this teaching, they do not explain it but keep it secret. I am completely different. Whether to many persons or few, I always explain it to everyone. If you receive the teachings of Chan from some teacher, you should strive to understand yourselves what you are taught, so that you penetrate its spirit. If you penetrate the spirit of it, then there will be no doctrine in all the sutras and shastras that you do not understand. Friends, if you wish to study the perfection of wisdom, you should read widely in the Mahayana scriptures. But those who teach Chan without admitting of sudden enlightenment, but who teach that enlightenment is only possible through the use of expedient means, this is the mistaken view of the very lowest category of sentient being. Just as a bright mirror can be used to reflect one's face, the Mahayana Sutras can be used to rectify the mind. This sudden teaching depends entirely on the teaching of the Tathagata, and your practice of it must not be mistaken. Strive diligently. If there are any with doubts, come and ask me about them. Go well.